Brock Purdy has been one of the great stories that we've ever seen in the NFL. This is a guy who comes out, he's Mr. Irrelevant. He gets thrown in last year and basically doesn't lose a game. And now suddenly, back-to-back weeks, it doesn't look as good. Should we be concerned about it, Jeff Saturday?
Absolutely not. Listen, at the end of the day, you got too many. Debo Samuel's missing. Trent Williams is missing. Christian McCaffrey's coming off an injury, didn't practice basically all week. But look, McCaffrey fumbles early. Field goal kicker misses another field goal. Like all the areas you see that there should be an interception, it gets stripped out and goes to the house. Brock Purdy was struggled, but at the end of the day, he's giving his teams chances to win. By the way, when you look at it, they rushed the ball last night, the 49ers, for 65 yards. The Eagles against the same defense, over 250. Like at some point, you have to realize what you're good at and take the pressure off a guy again.
I think that's part of the reason why it's concerning is because it was against the Vikings. So I understand the injuries are going to be a problem, but that's kind of always a problem for every team. It seems increasingly so for the 49ers at the end of the season. So they're not going to have their full complement of players when they go to the playoffs, and they're going to play teams that are better than the Vikings. So I don't know. It took me a while, to be fair, to come around to fully believe in Brock Purdy, so it's going to take me a while to move off of that, but it is concerning. Last couple of weeks are an issue.
I need to see that one interception again, RG3. I know you have a tape, but that first pick that he seems to throw to absolutely no one, what is it that we see here?
Yeah, we rave about Brock Purdy and his anticipation, reading with his feet in the pocket, and right here, he's going to do it. He's going to take his 5-step drop and a hitch, and he's going to try to anticipate this end breaker. But what he doesn't understand is that the receiver kind of slipped there at the top of his route, and he's not going to get over there quite as fast. So sometimes when we talk about what happens when you assume you make an ass out of you and me, that's anticipation. There's a fine line there in football, and we've seen him make throw. He made a throw earlier in the game to Jennings the same type of way and hit him in stride. So he just misread that one.
To be clear, I want to make sure I'm understanding. Are you saying that's not on the quarterback or it is on the quarterback?
Oh, no, that is 100% on the quarterback. He misjudged that throw. The throw needed to be probably 3 or 4 yards closer to the wide receiver, not down the middle of the field. And when you talk about Brock Purdy, you have to understand that this San Francisco 49er team is not built to win this way. The way that they tried to win these last 2 games, that's not how they're built. They're built to play great defense, run the ball, and control the clock. Let him throw the football 25, 27 times, be very high percentage, and they haven't had that. Their defense has not been one of the best in the NFL the past 2 weeks. So although a lot of blame might go towards Brock Purdy because he's not protecting the football, he also has to get the guys around him to play like they're supposed to.
They do.
Let me get Danny in here.
It's weird. They're not. It's just 2 odd weeks for the 49ers. They're not tackling well. Like if Fred Warner is missing tackles, that's just strange, right? I don't anticipate that continuing. The NFL season is long, right? You're not going to always be great. Like there are going to be lulls, and I think they're going through one. Now it does coincide with some injuries. Robert, you played with Trent Williams. Did you feel better when he was in there?
Oh yeah.
Right? It makes a difference.
He was punching Richard Sherman in the face.
And there you go. And Debo Samuel is an important player for them. So look, I think it obviously is 2 games. You're not going to draw any big, broad conclusions about them, but they're gettable when they're not whole, and that's true of most teams. They're not indestructible.
Let me underline one of the points he just made. Cindy, let's put the Debo Samuel graphic up there. Just how important has Samuel been to Brock Purdy? We'll take a look. When Debo Samuel is on the field versus off the field, the numbers drop potentially enormously. Niners averaging 4.4 yards per play without Debo Samuel. But that's a factor here. And, Nick, I feel like you were onto something. The 49ers are very top-heavy, right? They have a bunch of very expensive players. They've gone all in. So if you start losing those guys, they are less equipped maybe than some other teams to overcome injury.
I think so, and I think you want to believe that they have so many that they'll be fine without them, which I think they are for the most part, but it's been interesting these last couple of weeks. They should be able to win against the Vikings without Debo Samuel and Trent Williams. That's the concerning part. They should be able to win last week against the Browns without their top players. That's the interesting part, but we're going to have up and downs for every team this season. It's not time to get off the bandwagon, but it's showing us some issues that they have.
They should be, but it becomes more of a question, right? Like, that's the whole thing.
But
you were talking about
Jordan
a team
Jefferson
that was
wait a minute. Justin Jefferson was there.
Excuse me. What is it there?
No. Listen, we always talk about the team that loses. Right. The Browns have shown themselves to be a really good football team.
Yeah.
The Vikings are better than we thought they were, and honestly, Kirk Cousins went out there and gave the proverbial middle finger to everybody saying that he should be traded.
Yeah.
Threw for 378 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Why are you looking at me when you say that?
I'm just saying, I don't know.
Kirk would never do that.
That's true. He probably would.
Let me not misrepresent my man Kirk Cousins.
He wouldn't do that.
But I'll do it for him.
He'll only give you
He told
finger.
everybody to shut up. They played their tails off. And I think when you look at the 49ers, we can talk about them losing guys, but it's not like they're just losing starters. They're losing all-pro type of players.
Right.
So any team that loses those guys is going to have a little bit of downfall.
They have a bunch of all-pro type of players. That's the point. Not every team has as many impressive playmakers as they have in tackle as good as them, so they can't afford to lose them. But they're going to lose them. It's football.
Yeah.
None of these guys have played a full season. All the guys we're talking about
is this
don't play full
is a
season.
Minnesota Vikings team without Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
And Kirk Cousins went out there and looked like an all-pro against a defense.
looked great.
And by the way,
Prime time.
once San Fran took the lead, if a good defense, you got to close the game out, right? You can't give up points. You can't do what they did. So there's enough blame to go around. It ain't just on Brock Purdy. It's on this entire football.
It is such a week-to-week league, right? I mean, the Niners were the best team. Now, when tush comes to shove, I think the Eagles look like they're the best team in the league. Look, Lamar Jackson was the MVP of the league a few years ago and did things that we've never seen anybody do. So it's hard to say that he was better than that. But it was different. Yeah. And in its own way, maybe better, maybe more sustainably good. Is this what we saw from the Ravens, which you've been kind of waiting for all year?
Right.
Is this what it's going to look like going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think it will. And I think this Ravens team that we saw on Sunday, they beat every team in the NFL. Listen to what they did to the Lions.
Yeah.
Right? The Lions are a top-level NFC team, right? We've been raving about what they've been doing with Jared Goff. The Lions defense hadn't given up 100 yards rushing in a game all year long, and the Ravens put up 100 yards on them in the first half.
Yes, sir.
All right, so now I was talking about how the guys around Lamar needed to step up and be more, and they did exactly that. I mean, he had the most yak yardage ever in his career, 196 yards of it. I think he threw for 223 yards off of 11 play-action passes. So normally we've seen this offense be generated through Lamar and his running ability, and he's showing you now that he can be that elite passer because he's always been that way. He just needed a coach that was going to believe in him. Anyone hating on him now, they're just being green for that.
I like what Todd Monken did with him also. I think Lamar certainly deserves a ton of credit, but early in the game, they got Lamar on the edge with easy run-pass offense, which then I think gets in the mind of the defenders. Then he's in the pocket also picking them apart. And then the way to beat Lamar, we thought, was to blitz him. This is what he did against the blitz yesterday. He found the playmakers in key situations. Again, getting blitzed. He stands in the pocket. He sees it coming and he attacks downfield. The best thing you can do when you get blitzed is make them pay big. If you make them pay for 6-7 yards, they'll blitz again. Make them pay for 15, 20, 30 yards, they won't do it anymore.
I see you, Ricard. I see you.
That's not a full guard. That's a guard. That's a guard.
That's a guard. That's a dangerous-looking team. Now, what we saw from them look, I was the one who spent all last week telling you how great the Lions are, and then the next thing I look up and they're down 35-0.
Right.
But that was a statement. I thought it was the single most impressive performance any team has had in the NFL this season.
Absolutely. I mean, they absolutely dominated from first whistle to last whistle. But to RG3's point, if they play this style of football, they're unbeatable, right? But that's the question. They're so inconsistent, right? They lose to the Colts. They lose it because they can't get. You know what the difference was that no one's going to talk about? We're going to talk about Lamar. Their offensive line. Their offensive line dominated this Detroit Lions defense.
Shocking.
RG3 said,
you were this close to saying the right thing.
Hey,
you were this close.
Get real tight right here. Get real tight. On one of the touchdowns, he had 9 seconds. 9 seconds. I don't care what defense you're playing. You can't stop somebody if you're holding the ball for 9 seconds. You know that first touchdown when he walks in, Ronnie Stanley threw a dude through the wall into the stadium concrete. I mean, when you talk about physical domination, that is what you look like. And here's the thing. When Lamar stays in the pocket like he did, finds ways, finds avenues, and by the way, they're blitzing from depth. Right. So it's not like they're on the line of scrimmage. So even when they're blitzing, it's taking them forever. That's why he's finding a way, because their line did do a fantastic job.
Let me just give Graziano credit. You were the one before the season who said to me, it might take a little time. So maybe that's what we're seeing. They're kind of getting it together.
Don't give him credit.
And by the way, Lamar Jackson, like we say a lot of great things about him. He doesn't get enough credit for the leader he is, right? Like to manage the team through the growing pains and to not show impatience and to stand behind his guys. I mean, like Lamar Jackson's everything you want.
And to foresee this offense, because he was the impetus behind moving away from the antiquated offense that they were running and saying we can do more than that. But also, you meant to say defense. All right, I'm sorry.
Robert,
and I got you. The number one reason the Ravens were able to 28-0 skunk the Lions in the first half was because their defense. Roquan Smith has been amazing at leading that defense. They're the number one defense in the league for a reason. And you're wrong about Ronnie Stanley as well. He didn't just block that guy into the stands. He blocked him all the way back to Detroit. He told him, he's going to take this and you
want to see it again. Don't worry. I'm going to see it again.
The moment that happened, the beauty of it is that the moment that play took place, my Twitter exploded.
Pancakes.
So that one's coming, I promise.